Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Wednesday. It is the 6th day of October 2021. I hope you're COVID free today. I hope you're healthy and your family is COVID free and healthy, and the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, and clothing, as well as health, are being met. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, trying their best to save human lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage for us to keep our places clean. Blessings also upon those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on those trying to deliver boys and girls, men and women, children, toddlers, from the clutches of sex slave, human trafficking operations, and adults and teenagers as well. Pornography, child pornography, pedophilia, child molestation, as well as prostitution and child prostitution in the human trafficking area. Blessings upon those trying to deliver, trying to help, trying to encourage, trying to save individuals, children even, in these situations. Curses upon those that take advantage of these innocents. Double curses. Finally, blessings upon those that are homeless. 600,000 men, women, children, families on the streets of the United States of America, and the numbers are increasing. And millions around the world in places like the Philippines and Haiti and Afghanistan and other places in even worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom, and blessings upon those trying to help them. There was a basketball game last night. The New York Knicks played their first preseason game of 21-22 season against the Indiana Pacers. And there were some very encouraging signs. Now, the Knicks won the game, but this is a preseason game, so these don't count. Whether we win or we lose, I don't want to get up or down on that, but it always does feel better when the Knicks win. So last night, let's start with the negatives. Let's start with the negatives of what we saw last night. The starting unit was rusty, as you're going to expect. It was their first game, jitters, all of that. So they were a little sloppy to start the game. Then eventually they got into a rhythm and a flow. The starting unit's defense in the beginning left something to be desired, which caused one of Tom Thibodeau's multiple timeouts last night, which is good. He's not going to just allow mental lapses on defense from anyone. And so there were a couple of series defensively that they just did not look good, and he checked it. And they got better as the game went on. On the second unit, we saw a lot of Jericho Sims last night because Tom Thibodeau decided to rest Nerlens Noel. We know Mitchell Robinson's not cleared to play yet. And so he started Taj Gibson, and we got 25 minutes of Jericho Sims. Now, we all know that Jericho Sims has potential. He's obviously got tremendous athletic ability. Not a great shooter, but he does shoot the ball solid. But he had several mental lapses last night. And this is the reason you don't see Tom Thibodeau give rookies a lot of minutes. He does not have the patience to deal with mental lapses. That's why he loves veterans, because they don't make a lot of mental lapses. And if you're going to be a rookie and play for Tom Thibodeau, actually get any time like Emmanuel quickly did last year, you're going to not make a lot of mental mistakes. You're going to recognize situations and you're going to be able to make the right play. This is the most important thing. And so when he sees mental lapses, and particularly when he sees them on defense, you saw that last year in the early part of the season with Obi Toppin, which is why Obi wasn't getting a lot of time. Tom has no patience for that. He doesn't have patience for any mental lapses. He wants you to be mentally prepared. If you try your best, you're in good position and you get beat, that's one thing. But if you're just having mental lapses on defense, you don't know where you are, you don't know where your man is, you don't know what scheme they're running, that is a major problem. And that happened with Jericho Sims multiple times. Now, many people would just focus on the alley-oop plays or the plays he did, and he did do some good plays, but we're talking about negatives right now. So that being the case, Tom got into him a lot. And when he gets into you, it is an educational experience. But it's also telling you you're not ready to play for him, which is why I believe Jericho Sims is going to spend the majority of this season in the G League. Okay, he'll be up sometimes. He can come up for 50 games. They've changed the rules. The G League, the two-way players, the two-way signees get more money now. They get almost $500,000 now, a little less than that, which is a tremendous raise. The union, NBA union, did a good job in doing the players union, and now they can come up for 50 games a year. So we'll probably see him more, but he's going to get the majority of his reps in the G League, and he needs to do that. And I tell people, that are going to argue with me about how great Jericho Sims is, if we had put Kevin Knox and Frank Ntilikina in the G League 2 years ago, they might be playing at a high level right now and playing for the Knicks in the regular rotation. So the G League is good to get guys reps that wouldn't otherwise get reps on the regular team. So when you're talking about Mitchell Robinson, Nerlens Noel, Taj Gibson, and then my understanding is that Tom is even going to experiment with Julius and Obi and 3 guards in the small ball lineup. Well, when he's talking about doing that and that's successful, that's even less time for Jericho Sims. So I believe is that he's going to end up, he might get some more time in the preseason, obviously, but he's going to end up spending most of his time in the G League. And it's going to be good for him to get all the reps that he needs, 30 minutes a game in the G League, and develop as an NBA player. But he had many mental lapses last night, and that was not good. Okay. And pretty much, also, of course, we got out-rebounded. Now, generally, when we play the Pacers, between Sabonis and Miles Turner is not a tremendous rebounder, but he's big. He causes problems. And then, of course, Sabonis is a good rebounder. And so between the two of them, we lost the offensive rebounding battle. They had 11 offensive boards. We had 7. We had 49 total rebounds, and they had 54 total rebounds. So, these things we got to deal with. One of the things, again, Tom Thibodeau coached teams do 2 things. They're noted for 2 things. They hustle on defense. We know that. And they aggressively try to rebound the basketball as a team. Okay. So we don't like to get out rebounded. So those are the negatives. And that's pretty good for a first preseason game. So what you're looking at in the preseason, I'll put it this way, what I'm looking at in the preseason is I'm looking for the development of areas we needed to develop. And I'm looking for the possibility, or I'm taking into consideration the maturation that will come during the course of the season. So what you're looking at now is just the fresh paint start, but as the season progresses and these guys get used to getting in a flow together, playing together, they're going to get better. Okay. And I said that last year, and it's going to be the same this year. The only thing that's better this year is that they brought back a lot of guys, which is why we talk about continuity. So now in the starting lineup, you had, of course, Julius, Taj, RJ, right? These guys have been playing together now for a couple of seasons. Julius, Taj, and RJ have been playing together probably at least 3 seasons since RJ was a rookie. I think that's the team that we've had. Then, of course, you added Kemba and Evan Fournier. But those 3 guys knowing each other the way they did, that's going to make it a lot smoother transition. That's the continuity. And speaking of that, let's start with the positives. So the second unit came on the floor playing good defense. You had Obi Toppin, IQ. You had Jericho Sims, actually. And then you had, who else? You had Obi Toppin, IQ, Derrick Rose. How can I forget him? So you got Derrick Rose, IQ, Alec Burks. That's who it was. Alec Burks, IQ, Derrick Rose. Jericho Sims wasn't, in that second unit, they actually had Randall playing with them for a minute. And then they had Taj playing with them for a minute. So, but that unit played much better defense. They seemed like they picked up on the defense where they left off last year. And I thought that was going to be the case. And we talked about this just yesterday, how because we have a strong bench, what that's going to mean for us. So, that's what they did last night. So they picked up where they left off. The bench, last night scored 42 points, or was it more? 10, 20, 30, 42 points, actually 50 points. They scored 50 points of the 125 points last night. And the starters scored 75 points. And the starters were rusty. Okay. And so I told y'all we could probably looking at somewhere in 118 points a game. Now we held them to 104 points. That's tremendous, but that's not something that I don't think you're going to be able to sustain. If we were, the Knicks are sure top 3 in the East and sure Eastern Conference Finals, threat. Definite. But I don't know if that's going to be something we're going to hold, but it's something that to build on for sure. So the second unit came out and they played from the beginning really good defense, and they played good defense all the way around. The first unit started to catch up to it, which is why you saw Tom Thibodeau actually start. I thought before the game that you probably see the first unit for only like a quarter or two, and then you bring whoever in. But he started the third quarter with the first unit. And the reason is he wanted them to solidify themselves on the defensive side of the basketball. And they did. They started really picking it up well on the defensive side of the ball. And it really didn't matter who Indiana had in the game or not. It's a preseason game, but it was just the schemes. It was just the awareness. It was just knowing where you're supposed to be on defense in his schemes. And they did that very well last night. Also, as we mentioned before, because of the addition of Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker, you cannot just key on Julius Randle. And we also mentioned that we're expecting RJ to take a step forward. And I also said that RJ was probably going to get 20 a game. Why? Because he's a natural scorer. He just knows how to get buckets. It's one of his gifts. He's a strong kid. That's another one of his gifts. He's built like a bull. He knows to get to where he wants to get to, even though he's going there. Like people say, well, why don't he go right? Well, let somebody stop him going left, because nobody can. They know he's going left and they can't stop. Okay. So let somebody stop him going left, and then you'll see him forced to go right. But that's one of his gifts. And now he's also shooting the 3-ball. He shot 50% from 3 last night. So when you have that, you can't just key on Julius Randle. That will make Julius more efficient. And last night, Julius was 7 of 14. He was 2 of 5 from 3, which is 40%, 4 of 5 from the 3-point line. He was plus 17. He scored 20 points. He had 9 boards. This is pretty much, I'm telling you, when they get into their flow, this is going to be a typical game for Julius Randle, because he's going to become more efficient. He didn't force anything last night. He had 0 turnovers. And I love Julius, but we know that he, even in his best games, he would have 4 or 5 turnovers, right? Sometimes 3, 4, 5 turnovers. 0 turnovers last night. He played 30 minutes. And so that's what we're going to see going forward, a more efficient Julius Randle. And why? We had Kemba Walker, 5 of 10 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3-point line, 12 points. He had 4 assists, and he only played 21 minutes. And I like that they split pretty much evenly. I think, let's see, Kemba played 21 minutes and Derrick Rose played 21 minutes. So you have both of them splitting time at the... This is how you preserve guys like that. See, if you could do that, and then you had IQ playing some point last night, and then eventually you're going to see Deuce McBride getting some minutes at some reps at the point he didn't play much last night, but you'll see that during the course of the season. That defense is too good to keep him off the floor. So that is how you preserve a Kemba Walker and a Derrick Rose for the playoffs. Just like that. And you're going to see them become more cohesive as a unit, as Kemba gets, acclimated and used to game situations. One thing to practice with these guys or play pickup in the summer with them. It's another thing in the actual NBA game to get used to feeling people out and know where they are in a game situation. And so as that goes on, you're going to see that. And so the Knicks, that's why I'm saying they're going to be a high scoring and dangerous team this year, because this is efficient. Now, Evan Fournier did at least, that I counted, 4 plays last night that Reggie Bullock would have no way done, could not do. He gets closed out on the 3. He puts the ball on the floor, goes to the basket strong, gets fouled, gets the basket. There's no way Reggie Bullock would ever do that. That's what caused Atlanta to lock him up last year. They knew he wasn't going to do that. So they can put Trae Young on him, make sure he's not on the 3-point line open, and then dare him to drive and put the ball on the floor. He wasn't going to do that. Evan Fournier did that a couple of times last night. He cuts back door and gets the ball. Okay? Bullock was not good moving without the basketball. He's a spot-up shooter. Played great defense, but he's a spot-up shooter. Okay? Evan Fournier put the ball on the floor and made a play. I forgot who he dished it to. I don't know if it was Obi or I forgot who it was, but he set up somebody beautifully when he put the ball on the floor. So this is what we're getting. And last night, He was 3 of 8, but he was 5 of 6 from the line. He was getting to the line. And that's, I think, a harbinger of what you're going to see from him. And he was 1 of 4 from 3. It wasn't his best shooting night from the 3. But again, that's not going to be all year. He's a 40+% 3-point shooter. So he's going to shoot to his average that way. So that's encouraging. RJ Barrett, 7 of 14. We mentioned more efficient RJ. 7 of 14 from the field. He played 25 minutes, 3 of 6 from 3, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal. You're talking about a stat sheet stuffer, a scorer who's going to get buckets for you. He's still only 21 years old, and he's going to take the next step. So that's what you're talking about. And of course, Taj Gibson, he was 1 of 2 from 3-point range, and he didn't just throw that stuff up. He looked very confident shooting threes at age 36. In his old age, it looks like Taj has added a 3-ball. So this is going to be even better for us, right? He was 6 of 9. Of course, he did 6 rebounds. That's Taj's normal work. 3 assists. He played 21 minutes. Again, efficiency. This is when you have efficiency in your offense, that's where you get easy baskets. It makes everybody better. Last night, the Knicks had 26 assists. Now, 26 is a good number compared to last year. That's a good number for the Knicks, 26 assists. But I'm telling you, I would not be surprised to see them average 26 or more. I'm looking closer to 30 assists a game for the Knicks because of the ball movement, in which Tom Thibodeau is looking to stress. And 26 assists was good. They could have had some more, but there was a couple of blown baskets. But 26 assists last night was a very good number for them. They shot the ball overall from 3, only to 30%. But most of the misses, most of the bad shooting from 3 came from the bench. The first unit, like I said, you had 2 of 5 from Randall, that's 40%, 50%, 1 of 2 from Taj Gibson, 40% from Kemba, 2 of 5. You had 1 of 4 for Fournier. He shot 25%, but then RJ shot 50%. So the starting unit was shooting the ball well. And then of course, D Rose. What I liked about D Rose last night, he only shot 2 of 10, but and he had 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and he was 4 of 4 from the line. But what I liked most about D Rose last night was just watching him move, like his legs, his spring, his quickness. I would think, I have to think that he lost something from when he was 21, but he didn't look like that last night. The speed, the quickness, especially with the ball in his hand. And the Knicks are looking to run a little bit more push the pace this year. They did a good job of that last night. But this guy, you play him 21 minutes, 25 minutes a game, we're going to go far with him coming off the bench because he just looked really good, in terms of his health, his speed, his spryness. He looked like young Derrick Rose with that in those areas last night. So that was very encouraging. Alec Burks, he scored 8 points, 2 of 3 from field, and both of those were 3 points, and then he had 2. He was very efficient as well, and he's still Alec Burks. He had Alec Burks in his 11th year. He is what he is, and so what we saw last year is what we're going to get. And to have him now be in a position where we don't have to depend on him to play the point like we did last year, and he still can close games. Like, Alec Burks is a veteran closer. So that's what he does, especially in the playoffs. So that was excellent. And I can see that getting better. But the 2 people I was most impressed with last night was Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quickley. Let's start with Emmanuel Quickley. He actually kept his head up. So now he missed a lot of open players in the second half, also, but to begin the game, he was very conscious to keep his head up and his eyes open. And I was very happy to see him throw, at least I think he threw 3 full court passes, 2 of them to Obi. And that you would not see last year. And that was, to me, tremendous. He ended up with 7 assists, last night, 6 rebounds. He scored 10 points. He was 4 of 10 from the field, but he was 0 for 4 from 3. He took some really bad 3-point shots. But that's all right. We'll deal with that. I'll deal with that because eventually, he's going to start dropping his 3-point shots. So, he hit a couple of floaters. I like what I saw from Quickley last night. And he was consciously trying to think like a point guard last night. It was very good. Again, this is preseason. I'm projecting what I'm going to see from him going forward. He's a student of the game, as Tom Thibodeau likes to say. He studies the game and he applies what he learned. And I'm very encouraged by what I saw, understanding that he's going to get better as the season goes on in these skills. And that was very encouraging. And of course, he played pretty good defense last night, being part of that second unit. Then there was Obi Toppin. To me, I was the most encouraged by Obi because we already been saying he's a starter in most NBA teams. He really is a starter in most NBA teams. What he broke out with last night was the confidence, the force that he showed at University of Dayton that we know he could play with. Okay. He went with force to the hole. He was confident on his jump shot. He always ran the floor. And that's one of the shortcomings that we had from him last year. He was running the floor and Elfrid Payton wasn't looking for him. Nobody was looking for him. And so he would run the floor and not get the basketball. Well, he was running the floor last night and he got the basketball a couple of times. Obi ended up with 10 points, 4 of 10 from the field as well. He was 0 for 2 from 3, 2 for 2 from the line, 5 rebounds. But it was just the general sense of confidence you saw from him. You can see he worked on some of his moves. He used a couple of them last night. The crossover spin and then followed by the spin at the basket. He went hard to the hole and got hammered by somebody, but just the confidence that he had. He's not lost out there. He did not make mental errors last night. Okay, like you saw from him making last year. And so last night, Obi got 14 minutes. And I'm thinking he got 14 minutes last night, right? So you got to figure. So last night, Taj Gibson was the starting center. When Mitch comes back, he'll be the starting center and he'll get 25 minutes. Nerlens Noel will be the backup center, right? So you got to figure between Nerlens and whoever the starting center is, you're going to get 40 minutes a game. That's 8 minutes. What I'm saying is part of the 25 minutes that Jericho Sims got last night, Obi should end up getting that in addition to what he got. So in other words, if we can get 20 minutes a game for Obi Toppin this year, you're going to see a really good player because last year he was getting like 11 minutes a game. You give him 20 minutes a game and make it consistent so that he knows coming into the game, he's coming off the bench and he's going to get 20 minutes. He knows he's going to do that. You're going to see a different player. Okay. You're going to see him come out of his bag. You're going to see him eventually start dropping that 3-point shot. You're going to see him dunking on people. You're going to see a different guy. Okay. And so I'm very excited what I saw from him above everybody else last night because, that's what we want to see. And my concern is that he's going to be too good, and he's going to want to start eventually. And he knows he can't start over Julius. And I think that's part of the reason Tom is going to try. And I think you're going to see it this preseason. You're going to see small ball lineups with Julius and Obi as the two big men. And I'm not sure what 3 guards or wing guys you're going to have out there, but I think you're going to see that. He's going to want to see if that can work. Because if that can work, then we can get more minutes for Obi. Of course, it's going to be less minutes for Taj, but that's all right. Taj is 36. You need Taj for, spot situation, playoff situation. That's what you need him for. But if you can bring the all-star level athletic ability out of Obi Toppin on an NBA floor, the NBA is going to have a problem because this guy's going to be good. So I like that and I want to see more of it. So last night you got 14 minutes. I want to see that increase, on a Saturday night game against Wizards. I want to see him get at least 20 minutes and continue to get that. That brings me to our guy, Kevin. Kevin only played 4 minutes last night. Now, I'm not going to trip yet. And I don't think y'all should either. Don't trip yet because he only played 4 minutes. Remember now, the first game of last year in the preseason, IQ was a DNP coach's decision. Okay? He was a DNP coach's decision last year, first preseason game. And then he ends up being who he is, and he ended up playing more. So I think Kevin's going to get some minutes. I expect him to get more than 4 minutes against the Wizards Saturday night. The 4 minutes that he did play, though, Kevin played good. He played good defense. He got a tomahawk dunk. He rebounded the ball well. He missed his 2-3 opportunities, but he was cold just coming off the bench like that. I liked what I saw from Kevin last night. He was aggressive. He just needs some more minutes. So the problem, though, is let's assume Kevin's going to play well. Let's assume he's going to play well. He's going to show all of those aspects we talked about. He's going to rebound the ball. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to go to the basket and finish strong. He's got finishing ability, Mr. Knox does. Ask Ben Simmons. But he's got finishing ability. So let's say he shows all of that. He's still going to have trouble getting minutes. You got Obi and you got Julius at the 4. So there goes stretch 4 minutes. And then at the 3, you got an up-and-coming RJ, right? You got Alec Burks. And then you got at the 2, which you're not going to play Kevin at the 2. You got Evan Fournier, Quentin Grimes. What are you going to do? I mean, where's he going to play? That's the problem. See, it's not Kevin's fault. I don't want anybody to think Kevin stinks and Kevin was... No. Kevin developing the way an 18-year-old coming into the NBA is supposed to develop on an average basis. He's not like Luka Doncic. He's going to come in and dominate at 18. So he's developing as he should. The problem is, when he was drafted by the Knicks, we stunk. Fizdale was giving him all kind of time, and then second year took it all away. Of course, he was making mistakes, but we thought he was going to let him play through. And then didn't put him in the G League to get reps. So now he's in his 4th season, and he's worked hard, and he looked good last night. But even if he is, where is he going to play? Okay, he's in a contract year. So I can see a trade coming at the deadline or before. I don't want another player back. Like somebody suggested a Garrett Temple for Kevin trade. That's another video. We'll talk about that. But we need picks. You say we got a lot of picks. We could use more. And we'll talk about why. We could use more picks. Okay. We don't need another player. That's one of the reasons we would be talking about trading Kevin Knox, who's developing, because there's no room to play him. So we don't need another player. But we need picks. And we'll talk about why. That'll be another video. But Kevin only got 4 minutes last night. Grimes got 4 minutes. McBride got 6. I think he's going to give these kids more time probably this next game. He's going to give them more time. He's got to get his starters and his rotational pieces that he's already planned for his rotational pieces. He got to get them going. He got to get them in a rhythm. That's what he was doing last night. And I think they'll probably start the game Saturday night, but I expect these kids to get more time, much more time Saturday night than they did tonight. I expect these starters to come out of the game definitely by the second quarter and let these kids play some more. So it's a preseason. So I'm thinking that's what they're going to do. But Kevin, I liked what he looked last night, even with the limited action that he got in all areas of his game. But unfortunately for him, the team has developed from scrubs to contenders in the midst of his development without him actually being involved with that growth on the team level. So that's the problem, So they ended up getting an Obi Toppin. They ended up, getting an RJ Barrett and developing him, So that's the problem Kevin has. And then, of course, you got all these vets, like I mentioned. You brought in a Burks, you brought in a D Rose, you brought in a Evan Fournier. You brought in guys that's going to eat into whatever minutes Kevin might get. See, Quentin Grimes, if he doesn't play a lot this year, it's not like we expected him to play a lot this year, right? If he's not in the rotation, that's fine. He's his first year. This is his first year of his 4-year rookie deal. Okay? He's going to eventually get his time. But Kevin's at the end of his rookie deal. The crazy thing is, I think Kevin and Quentin Grimes are the same age. Isn't that amazing? I think they're the same age. But that's the way it works in the NBA. So we'll talk about trade possibilities maybe on tomorrow's video and what will happen, what could happen with Kevin going forward. What's best for Kevin. Because once a Knick, always a Knick. I really believe that. So I follow cats, like my second favorite team now is Dallas. I follow cats that was once Knicks, especially if we drafted them. So I want to see what's best for Kevin Knox. And we're going to talk about that. But for now, we start off the preseason on a really good foot, developing the weird areas where we wanted to develop. And I see growth coming on all areas of our team. I told y'all we're going to be deep. We're not only here, but we deep. And we're going to surprise some people in the NBA. So next game is Saturday night against the Wizards down here in Washington, D.C. I'm not going to go to the game, but I'll probably see it later because it's going to be after the Shabbat. So I'll probably be able to see the game and then, give an analysis on that after that. But meantime, be safe out there. Have a really good Wednesday, midweek. Sure.